Hi, everyone. Welcome to Voices of Vibrant Faith. This is a time where we sit down with people who are involved in our Vibrant Faith community as a coach or a user or somebody who works at Vibrant Faith, and we get to know them a little bit. My name is Charity Starchenko. I am the marketing manager here at Vibrant Faith, and today I'm sitting down with Agnes Kovacs, who is the Director of Continuing Formation and Associate Director of Graduate Theology Programs at St. Meinrad Seminary and School of Theology. Agnes, we're really glad to have you today.
Thank you, Charity. It is my pleasure to be able to support Vibrant Faith.
Oh, great. I'm glad. I'm wondering if we could start out talking a little bit about your call to ministry and then your call to higher ed at St. Meinrad.
It's a long story, but I started at the beginning.
Yeah.
I was born and raised in socialist communist Hungary, so I never in my wildest dream have I imagined that I would be working in, for, and with the church.
Mm-hmm.
But about a dozen years after I came to the US, actually I was invited to consider it.
Mm-hmm.
And at that time, my response was, no, how could I?
Yeah.
I don't have the preparation for it.
Mm-hmm.
But God has God's ways. And about 2 years after that, I did end up
Yeah.
in parish ministry in a Catholic parish. And then worked in a couple of parishes and then switched gears. It was kind of a burnout time when I switched gears to higher education.
Yeah.
And I'm very grateful because my parish experience brought some gifts that I can make use of in my current work in higher ed, and especially seminary formation, forming people for ministry in the church.
Yes. Yes. That's really cool. I'm just wondering a little bit, what are some of the skills you brought with you from parish ministry into higher education?
Pastoral skills.
Yeah. Yeah.
Being present, being able to listen and engage and try to bring a different perspective.
Yes.
I am all about higher ed, academic learning, different aspects of formation. But sometimes in our particular context, we can be a little bit too head driven. So my work in the parish taught me to, there is more than head knowledge to the work of ministry. And I think I can bring that to this place as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's a really key skill, is being able to move from head knowledge into practical knowledge and to be able to just almost like the practical applications of theology in life. How does that play out in your own life? That I think is really critical to having a great ministry, no matter where you work or what you do in your life. So that's really interesting. And so as we consider some of the work that you've done, how has the pandemic shifted your work at St. Meinrad over the last couple of years?
Wow. Dramatically.
Yeah.
Of course, the first year was we pivoted to online learning and online delivery right away, or had to do that. And that was new because the particular areas for which I'm responsible are pastoral, mostly take place in person, face to face, rather than screen to screen. So that was a big switch for me, to be able to deliver content and create new offerings that can still bring the pastoral. Yeah. And I think that was a major shift, and we worked very hard, and I have to say it was successful. But that's the major. How do you do what you have done before in person? How can you deliver that online?
Yeah, yeah. I think that being able to make that shift successfully is really critical. And so that was difficult for my church, and at Vibrant Faith, we were always sort of virtual. So we didn't really have a lot of like scrambling to do. Some of our in-person events have moved online permanently. But what are some of the things that began maybe in your own personal work or at St. Meinrad that began in the pandemic that you hope remains a permanent part, something that was a positive development that can continue on into the future?
I think the learning that what I've learned by necessity, that it is possible to do pastoral work online.
Yes.
Before that, I was a staunch supporter of the in-person because there is so much that happens when we are together in a room.
Yeah.
But I've learned that it can happen. And so now that allows us to offer our programming in a hybrid way, that to think outside of just the classroom experience and see how can we broaden both our reach, not necessarily our reach, and deliver the content that we really would like people to have.
Yeah.
So that's something. And I have to say that throughout the pandemic, especially in the first 6 months, being able to participate in the mass celebrated by the monks in community at St. Meinrad. So the streaming of the services, that was amazing. Because one of the key elements of that particular experience, that they are in community. And the camera is set up at a place that I would be sitting if I'm there in person. So my participation is so much more present, or feels like I can be present. So I really it was an amazing and life-giving, literally life-giving experience to be able to have the streamed liturgies.
Yeah, that is really cool to hear. I think live streaming does have its perks, and I love the way that how you situate the camera always changes the context of your experience in that. And I think that's really important in that particular topic, like to really think about that. That's really good to hear, Agnes. I really like that a lot. And so what actually in this phase of the pandemic or the endemic or whatever we call this season of life now, but who are some of the people, or how do the people you work with and the students you serve inspire you these days?
I think one of the learning is resiliency and flexibility. Flexibility that we all had to make the change. So we did together. And resiliency that in spite of all the difficulties and all the stressors that this pandemic has put on us, all of us, there is still joy.
Yes.
There is still joy. And that is so life-giving. I really hope that we won't lose that no matter what. That the joy of ministry still permeates everything that we do. And not discounting and neglecting and pushing it under the rug, the difficulties that arrived with the pandemic and what the pandemic actually just highlighted more within the church.
Yeah, that's cool. And then our last question is a question I always ask. It's a fun question just to get to know people's personal sides a little bit more. But if you could have an all expenses paid vacation, no time limit, and you can go with anybody you want to go and go anywhere you want to go, where would you go? Who would you take and why?
Wow. Wow. Let's imagine, let's dream. I would, it would be a trip to many different parts of the world. Before I came to the US, I lived in Japan with my husband. And I had a chance to visit Australia. So I would love to revisit Japan and Australia. But I also have a sister who lives in New Zealand, and I have not been to New Zealand. So it would be wonderful to visit her. And then I have been interested in Asian culture. I would love to go to visit Korea.
Yes.
And the Scottish Highlands.
Yes, it's beautiful. I recommend the Scottish Highlands. So yeah. Agnes, those are great ambitions. I love that.
Yeah, so it's both something that at this stage in my life, it would be nice to revisit some and getting to know something new as well.
Yeah, That's really cool. Well, I hope that you make it to Korea and the Scottish Highlands. So yeah, you'll have to keep me posted on how that goes. But
Thank
thank you
you.
so much for joining us today. And thank you guys for watching. We're really glad that you've tuned in, and we hope that you learned a little bit more about Vibrant Faith and the people who are connected to our community here. If you'd like to learn more, we have links below our video. You can click on them and discover more about Vibrant Faith and all of the resources that we offer. Thank you so much for being with us, and we'll see you next time.